And a good Friday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining for this tropical update presented by Malone Roofing Services. As always, we appreciate our partners and our sponsors during the tropical season. And once again, Malone has been with us for a couple of years now. So, of course, we are still tracking what is Tropical Depression Fred out there. How you doing, Priscilla? Good to see you on here. Ralph, as well. Thanks for joining. Holly, thanks for joining this afternoon. So, there's a look at Ralph out there in the Caribbean, and still even we're seeing kind of a continuation of what we were seeing last night, as this storm still is not very well organized. Still a depression. You remember last night the National Hurricane Center was saying it was on the cusp of becoming a tropical storm again, and I questioned that a little bit. I don't like to question the National Hurricane Center, but it didn't look good to me. It's still a depression, though. It's not. It really has not regained much organization today. In fact, you can look at the satellite picture and see what's going on. I mean, yeah, you really can't tell where the center of circulation is. I got to come back to kind of where they have it plotted here, and they have it. Look, remember I talked about the scenario where the National Hurricane Center had it going kind of parallel to the coast of Cuba and staying above Cuba, north of it, and staying in the water between Florida and Cuba. That has not happened, as they have the plot really right over the island of Cuba right now. So because of that, you can see the plot right there. So because of that, that it's staying in this area and not squeezing between the two islands, that has really not allowed it to do much today, because obviously it's not going to develop and over the island. So at this point, it's just really just a big old glob of convection here. And good luck finding where the center is. Coming back here, they have it really kind of in the central portion of the island. So they have the center plotted somewhere around here. Yeah, you can see some convection firing around there, but you're not going to see any intensification as this, if the core is, if the core is right around there, it's not going to develop. It's over land. So let's take a look here at what we're looking at as far as the current track. Another scenario I had told you all about yesterday was a weaker system not being able to develop and not really feeling those upper level winds as much. And so I was saying if it developed, I gave two scenarios last night. If it developed quicker, it might feel the pull from that upper level air mass and start riding around the high a little bit sooner, and that may have led to a track that was kind of closer to Florida, a little bit more to the north and east, but that didn't happen. It's not getting stronger, at all right now. It's weaker, and so the drifting west thing is what's happening right now, and because of that, you can see the new cone here, and this has come west a little bit. Remember, I've been saying from the beginning here, now the Mississippi Gulf Coast is a very extreme western portion of the cone, but Mobile and Alabama, all these areas in Alabama and the Florida Panhandle, the Emerald Coast here, I've been saying, keep watching this thing, because although the track started east with a very erratic system, an unpredictable and inconsistent system like this, there's just no consistency with it, and it's very unpredictable because you don't have a solid center. You have a center that's over land. You have a center that can relocate east and west and south and north and all kinds of different directions before it gets back into the water. And then once it emerges back into the water, tomorrow afternoon, well, we can start seeing what's going on and what the condition of this thing's going to be. I said that from the early on, is that the most important day is going to be when it gets back over water and, through this island chain. These islands do a number in these storms, and it just makes it very difficult to see where the last, landfall could potentially be. So this is where we're at right now, subject to change, right? This is not set in stone just yet, because we've seen flips and flops. The other night I told y'all, looking at this screen, remember, if you were with me the other night, the center line, I don't know who was with me, but I'm sure a lot of you were. The center line, I told someone to write this down. I don't know if anybody wrote this down, but I said the center line was right to the west of Tallahassee. And I said, write that down, because we're not going to be there soon. Now Tallahassee is barely in the cone. It's just on the eastern fringe here of the the cone here. So you can see how far that we've shifted, and this is normal with these storms that are just not very well developed. Now the center of the system is coming in here around Grayton Beach and Santa Rosa Beach area, right? So now we're along the Emerald Coast here. So these are all these areas. Rosemary Beach, Panama City would be on the eastern side here. Destin to the west, Fort Walton, all these areas here. Pensacola as well to the west of where the center is right now. But I mean, you get the point. It's much closer to you guys than we were just a couple of days ago. And so that's kind of what's happened. A very weak system with no consistency, having trouble, getting developed. And with that, the drift west continues. And so that's where we're at right now. The center coming around here. Remember, east of the center is where the worst of the conditions would be as it comes in. That would be the squally conditions and the potential for some water rise. So I mean, let's just say, and remember what I just said now, this is still subject to change. But if you do get a center line coming in somewhere around here, the National Hurricane Center has this at now. Look, it's come back a little bit, slower motion a bit. Now we're 16th. So now we're Monday. All right, so Monday now at 1 p.m., and the National Hurricane Center says 60 miles per hour with gusts to 70. This is about where we were the other day. Remember, they came down with the intensity. I don't know what they're seeing right now that tells them it could be a little bit stronger, but they're saying 60 miles per hour with gusts to 70 and a movement of about 10 miles per hour. It's not a very fast moving storm, but it's not going to stall. But it is going to have at least a forward motion of about 10. Now, if it is 60 miles per hour, now it's getting up a little bit. You're in the higher range of category, not category, but tropical storm. So remember, you have a center. Let's just say it's here. Again, this could absolutely change, but let's just go with what we have right now. Remember, you have the onshore flow in the eastern side of a tropical system and the offshore flow on this side of it. So all these areas over here, Alabama coast, Pensacola, Fort Walton, if this center line would hold, you'd be on the better side of the system with that offshore flow, and the surge shouldn't be much of an issue. On the eastern side, we're talking Panama City, Santa Rosa, possibly over here, Port St. Joe, Apalachicola, all these areas you'd have water pushing onshore just a bit. And of course, the squally conditions, most of the rainfall and such would be flowing in those bands on this side as well, is where you're going to have the potential for some of those isolated tornadoes and some of those rain bands, and just generally the nastier side of the tropical system, as always, especially with this one where it might not be very well developed. You may have a little bit of dry air maybe wrapping in toward the end on the western side, and again, that would stack all that messy weather here to the east of the area. So, and if this thing shifts more west, this would shift west as well. So I'm just going by what is currently being forecast by the National Hurricane Center. It certainly has shifted just a bit more to the west, and honestly, wouldn't shock me at all if it continued to go in that direction. Folks in Mobile, Pensacola, keep an eye on this, because the trends, like I said the other night, I look for trends, and the trends have certainly been west in the last couple of days. They could continue in that direction, especially with this storm over Cuba right now. And as the longer it stays over land, remember, once it gets back into the water, it's going to establish a center again. The center I don't even know where it is right now. The National Hurricane Center is guessing, but at some point the storm's going to get back over water, and it's going to establish itself another low-level center. Where does that happen? Where was this center going to? Is it going to reform a little bit more to the west? Maybe a little bit more to the east? Maybe the track shifts that way. There's so many variables still with a storm that's going to make landfall probably in about 2 or 3 days. Well, 3 days maybe, 2.5 days. Still lots of things that we need to watch with this, because it is still over land right now. It is over Cuba, somewhere around here. You can see lots of convection bubbling up around there, lots of thunderstorms. You can't really see where the center is, but the National Hurricane Center has it here. And, they have it kind of going to be moving, kind of in this direction. It's going to stay over land for a little while, too, y'all. I mean, it's not getting back over water anytime soon, not until we get into tomorrow afternoon. And then finally, it's going to emerge somewhere in here. And then we'll have to see what it looks like, and it's going to take a little while, right? And, you jump into a pool, right? It takes a little while for the shock of the water, and then you kind of get used to it a little bit. It's kind of the same thing here, where the hurricane's going to get back over water, and it takes several hours for it to kind of establish itself back in its environment again, and back over the warm water, where it can start to maybe intensify. So it's not going to be something that happens instantly, but something that we got to watch, because that is going to happen. It's just a matter of where that's going to take place. So this is a look at let me see if I can reload this, the new GFS. Let's see if this is the new one. I haven't seen this one yet. This is at 6 p.m. So let's see. So there's a storm over Cuba. How far do we have? 60 hours. It's not going to be much. Let's see. Yeah, so it gets out back over Cuba, and then we see a drift there a little bit to the west, right? It's not very strong at that point. That's all I have right now, 60 hours. That'll keep loading up. But you see this trend now. This is the last frame. This is about midnight on Sunday here. I can't go any farther, but that'll be loading a bit, and we'll check out the next few frames as it loads up. As far as the European model, had kind of the same thinking, right? Emerald Coast as a landfall spot. You can see a little bit of intensification there toward the end of the forecast, and I think that's why the National Hurricane Center probably has upped their winds to about 60 miles per hour now at around landfall. Now remember, gotta watch that when you get a storm in the Gulf. Like I told you yesterday, a track that would be farther away from Florida and in the open water a bit might allow this thing to blossom in the last hours. Okay, so you gotta always be careful of that. When you have a storm that comes out to the west more and is not being hindered by the coastline of Florida, and it's really just over water totally, then you might be able to get some intensification, and it might happen in the last 12 to 24 hours as this thing's moving toward the coast. So you got to watch out for those things that happen in the last few hours. That's what the European model is indicating could happen. Hopefully it's not rapid. Hopefully we can keep this thing as a tropical storm. Hopefully it dies right now and it doesn't even survive the island. Let's just go there, right? Hopefully this thing dies over Cuba, but we have to assume that it's not, and we have to assume that, you know, that it's going to rebound a little bit at least as it gets back over water. So yeah, so let's hope we can keep this thing not too strong once it gets back to the Gulf, but certainly certainly something we have to watch, because it does look like this thing could impact some of the some of the Gulf Coast here. And Florida Panhandle still looks to be the most likely scenario, although we have seen shifts to the west just a bit. Ralph's, where do we have the center of a storm? It's over Cuba. I think I showed that. That. Let's see. Yeah, don't worry about Fred. Better worry about 95L, 2 days behind. Yeah, 95L is potential tropical cyclone number 7 now. Let me show you that real quick. I don't have the satellite pulled up, but here's a look, by the way, at the latest tracks on Fred, and you can see, yeah, definitely a shift yesterday. Remember, most of the tracks yesterday were Apalachicolas, a couple of them in this area, so we've seen definitely a trend to the west a bit, and now the majority are centered here along the Emerald Coast of Florida and the Panhandle here. So we'll see what happens when we get a couple of new model runs. In about 3 hours, we'll have new model runs like this. We'll see what that trend is. We'll see if any more shift over here, or maybe we see a shift back here, or maybe we're locked in. Maybe this is where we're looking for landfall. So something to keep in mind, something to watch for. All right, here's let's see. This is Invest, or potential tropical cyclone number 7 out there. Long ways out right now. Not really much you can tell from this. Still a lot of different solutions, right? A lot of different model runs. We have a few of them that take it east, doesn't even get into the Gulf. A couple of Fred-like tracks, and then a couple that go way to the west. So way too early to even speculate on potential tropical cyclone number 7 right now, but it's out there. I'll be watching it. I'll be updating the page once we get a little bit closer. This is the track, by the way. I don't even know if I showed this. This is the official track from the National Hurricane Center for Fred. Same kind of thing right here, coming in tropical storm potentially on Monday afternoon. Remember, the slower motion now over land slowed it down a little bit. And now the landfall looks to be Monday afternoon. So, so we'll see if that continues the slower pace. And remember, tomorrow afternoon, going into tomorrow evening, big time period for the storm. As it gets back over water, we'll see what happens with it. But right now, we're looking at a landfall somewhere around here, along the Florida Panhandle, maybe even the Mississippi Gulf Coast or Alabama coast if it goes that far to the west. So everything's still in play right there. If you're in the cone at the end there, still continue to keep an eye on this storm. Potential tropical cyclone number 7, by the way. This is the cone for that. Again, can't really tell much from it. Looks very similar to a Fred type of track. But what happens at the end, we're talking at the end of the track, this is Wednesday. And so, where's the high at that point? Is there going to be a trough dipping down? Is it going to have an escape route out to sea? Maybe. Is it going to miss it and come into the Gulf? It could. A lot of different things with this one. Not even worth talking about right now, because we got we got Fred first up. And then, once we're done with Fred, we'll start to, talk about what is probably going to be Grace sooner than later. So, yep, lots going on. We're getting into the heart of tropical season, into the peak of it. We got 2 months to go now, probably until we start getting out of that area. Really 2.5 months. Really, we had Zeta last year. Zeta was close to Halloween, I think. So, yeah, we're getting to the end of October now. where we could have, the potential for some of these storms. So that's the latest on Fred right now. Again, looking at a landfall Monday afternoon, potentially along the Florida Panhandle. Where is it? I don't even know where it went. I closed it. The cone, in case you're joining late, there it is. Florida Panhandle, and still have the potential there. Mississippi Gulf Coast, Alabama, Mobile area, all the way over to the east now, east of Apalachicola, all in play right now. So certainly keep watching this. Let's see what happens tomorrow afternoon and evening. Let's see what the condition of the storm is once it gets back to the Gulf, and let's see if it's going to get its act back together. That's going to be big. So thank you guys for following the page. That's the latest on Fred. I'll continue to keep you all updated. Likely join you all for Tropics After Dark tonight. Thank you to Malone Roofing Services, our sponsor on this page again this season. And